Hi,
Thank you.
Joan. How are you?
I'm well, thank you, Eleanor.
And thank you so much. You're here today. You're going to talk to us about the Irish language course for parents that
Mhm.
happened in KWETB. So, how did this course come about?
Okay, so it was one of our the local schools, one of the deaf schools that we would have developed a relationship with over the years, and we, we'd have done a range of family learning courses in that
Yes.
school. And at the time, the school was running, they were piloting a new Irish language program. They were changing their approach to teaching Irish, and trying to kind of I suppose, reduce the focus on reading and writing and really develop the oral language skills. And it was very popular with the children, and it was going home to the parents. So the parents then were coming back to the school, looking for support to be able to speak Irish to their children. And it's a school like all our schools now, with a very diverse population and parents from all over the world, and they were really interested in this. And I suppose the school had a very proactive homeschool liaison teacher as well. And again, it speaks to the importance of developing that relationship with
Those
those
relationships,
teachers,
yeah.
and them understanding what we do, because sometimes I find that the homeschool community liaison teachers, they know that we have our core subjects. Let's say we do story sacks and storytelling and supporting your child's reading, and we do maths for parents and all the kind of the crafty things and the regular things that we do, a bit of gardening and all of that. But understanding that we can also respond to a need that arises just because it's not on our list of courses,
You have
that they
that
can
flexibility.
that they can come to us and that we might be able to source somebody. So that was an example of that this teacher, because she's she runs a lot of programs herself in the school, but this was something she wasn't able to provide for at the time, and she came to us, and that's really how that's the background to the course.
That's
It was
excellent. And as you say, those core relationships and
yeah
knowing exactly. And were there many
understanding.
participants sitting?
So it was a sort of rolling participation. There was four who were there all the time, but there could have been 8, maybe 10 people in any given week, because there were parents who were doing shift work, and then there was different things on, and kids get sick, so there was a kind of a rolling attendance, and then this core group who were there throughout the thing. But we would have had 6 to 8 people every week, and then sometimes, like I say, more.
Was it a 2-hour course every week?
So it was a 2 hour with a break in the middle, so kind of 1.5 to 2 hours. And it was in the last 2 hours of the school day. We find generally that those courses either run them in the morning when the parents are coming in to school, or run them towards the end of the day so they can do their course and then collect the children from school. And you're working around families with infants and older children.
You're really supporting learners.
Yeah. So the timetabling actually was quite tricky in this case, because the request for the course came in the second term. So then it just happened in this particular case that we didn't have somebody in our own staff who was able to deliver that course. So we had to source a teacher. And by the time all of that was set up, that we were ready to run in the last term. But that's an extremely busy term in the schools.
And great you had that flexibility to source someone as well to meet that.
Yeah, because we had done something like that with another school in previous years, where they had requested support for the parents and the teacher. In that case, we had somebody on our own staff who could do it. And what she did was a kind of a cafe goelach, that she just had a coffee morning, an informal coffee morning every year, or every week, with a group of parents. The difference, I suppose, was that group of parents were all parents who had gone to school in this country and who had Irish, and they were trying to reactivate it. Whereas, because we've all let it go. So it was kind of just digging that Irish up again. Whereas in this case, our group of participants was a mixed group of parents. We had about 1/3 of parents who had gone to school in Ireland and had some little bit of Irish that they were reactivating, but we had a 2/3 mix, and I think that's where the original request came from, was parents who hadn't gone to school in this country, hadn't learned Irish, and it was just another language for them.
It's great to
And
see that interest as well, isn't it?
yeah, and it was interesting. And then the tutor as well, then, you know, because there's always a bit of baggage going with Irish, but the tutor was one of these people, you know, she lived in the moment. It was all about the now. There was no historical baggage. And it was about, you know, what we're doing today and what we're learning today. And because for the students who hadn't come across this language before, it was just a huge curiosity. It was just another language. And they were curious and, you know, wanted to figure it out so they could help their kids with their homework. So it sort of changed it was a new way of looking at the language for us who had grown up with it.
Yeah, that's amazing. I know, because as you
And
say, there's
yeah,
so much baggage, and we all have memories of the Leaving Cert home
yeah,
in August. But yeah, to have that
yeah.
fresh approach coming in with the learner.
So
Yeah.
yeah, and so there was none of those stories even, you know, of, oh gosh, you know, I remembered, like all of that was part, and it was
Yeah.
like, this was something new that we were all, and the approach was so new and so fresh that it was it was like a new language for everybody.
And what kind of topics were you covering in the course itself?
So we ended up, because of all the time constraints that I was talking about, and because they were doing a course that we had to wait for that to finish, and then there was the sports day and there was the school trips and everything. So we ended up getting 4 weeks at the end of term. So we had 4 sessions. So it was quite basic stuff. It was all greetings, names, food, shopping, colours, you know, around the coffee break, there'd be a lot of chat about food and stuff like that. It was all done. It was, you know, that total physical response kind of approach that the ESOL tutors are using now with real beginners. It was, you know, movement, games, you know, she had a ball and I'd throw the ball to you. So you'd have to tell me your name if you got the ball, or you'd have to tell me the colour or whatever. It was, and I mean, I was, you know, because I sat in on some of the sessions, so I was, you know, running around the room and doing all sorts as well. And I suppose the unexpected aspect of it was the play element for parents.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it wasn't just Irish. We were just playing. We were running around, throwing a ball at each other and speaking Irish.
It's great because they're bringing that home then to their kids as well. Like learning is fun, and
yes, and you know, we were able to highlight the amount of learning that there is in play, as well as in learning Irish, and just even for all of us, you know, like at that stage, whatever time it was, 1:30 to 2:30, or whatever time, you know, it was at the end of the day, just, I suppose, even just the physical relief of just having a laugh and having a bit of fun, you know, when everyone's kind of getting tired and you're getting ready for the next part of the day. So there was a lot of learning in it outside of the Irish. Yeah, we had 4 weeks of basic skills, really. That's kind of what they did.
And you were saying, really, from what you're saying, the school really was involved with the process, that homeschooling.
Yes, it was.
An important part of it, I think, was it really, that relationship and the school's involvement?
It was, and I suppose the request came from the parents initially. It was then the school was the sort of link between us and the parents, which was great. And then the other thing that they arranged then was for one of the teachers who was, you know, instrumental in developing that program in the school, to come and talk to the parents about the program. And that was really good. He was a young teacher, and he was great. And he brought the resources and the materials, and he sort of gave them an overview, because there was a plan, and, you know, they had themes, and they followed the themes through all the classes, and they just built on the theme, on the language around the theme as they went up to school. And, you know, the parents then say, oh yeah, so, you know, Johnny in junior infants is talking about food, but, you know, Mary in 4th class is a much more complex conversation about food, but it's the same thing, or, you know, whatever games that they're playing. And they could see the progression, and they could see the logic of what was going on, and they had an understanding of what the school was doing, which was really good.
Yeah, I mean, that's such a collaborative relationship.
Yeah, it was great.
The teachers were actually coming in, and did the school notice, like afterwards, did they kind of say, was it helping the children? Had they noticed results from it, or?
Well, I think, I mean, the course was short enough in terms of, but I think the children themselves and the parents, I think, felt in the few weeks that we had with them that just they knew what was going on. You know, I think it was just that, yeah. And I mean, you know, some of the conversation then is about, and I suppose that would have been, you know, my input into it, like, what's your role here as a parent in that? And it's not to be the Irish teacher, but just the fact that you're showing an interest. And there was that response from their children that, you know, that the children were asking them what they were learning in their Irish class, and the children were filling in the gaps for them and all that sort of thing. So it was that kind of, that feedback was very positive. And the teacher himself was really impressed that the parents were doing this. You know, he wasn't aware that this course had started, so he was delighted to be brought in on week 2 or week 3 or whatever, and was amazed, you know, that they were doing this, that they were going to this much trouble to be involved, and, you know, to have that opportunity to explain to them. So it sort of, you know, it was a validation for him as well, and an encouragement for him in the work he was doing.
Relationships, going on there. Relationships with the schools and everything. Wow, it just sounds so fantastic. And I think, I think all parents with the Irish in school is something we all have a bit of support. So different cultures coming together and the learning through play, just the whole thing.
I think what was interesting for me, just, you know, as you know, looking at the family learning planning, was that all the other things that were going on. You start with a request just to help parents with Irish homework. But there is so much more happening, even in that short course, that people got from it, and just the, you know, the relationships and the friendships and everything that were sort of cemented or whatever during that course. It was very positive, very positive.
Joan, thank you so much. Really appreciate you taking the time to share with us today, and I'm sure other people will find this so useful. And again, just really highlighting the collaborative nature of those relationships and how much it brought, you know, for everyone. So Joan, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Bye for now. Thank you.